Ever been at work, trying to use the company's AI platform, and you just get frustrated? You're thinking, man, this is so clunky compared to the AI I use at home. This is a super common feeling, but what if I told you that broken feeling is actually on purpose? Yeah, by design. Let's dive into why enterprise AI feels so, well, different. So you ask it a pretty simple question and it takes forever to get back to you. Or it tells you it can't access certain data. And all those cool features you're used to on the public models, nope, not here. It's easy to think, wow, this product is just bad. But that's not it. It's really the first clue that there's something totally different going on under the hood. And right here, this is the core of it. Consumer AI, the stuff we use every day, is all about speed and engagement. It's got to be fast, it's got to be fluid. But enterprise AI? That's a whole different ballgame. Its goals are accountability and safety, and that means the whole experience is designed to be more deliberate. And yeah, that often means it's a bit slower. Okay, so because these two things are designed so differently, it leads to this big misconception. When teams at work look at their internal AI, they compare it to the slick consumer tools, and they just see all these restrictions and the slower pace as a quality gap. They just assume the one they have at work is just plain inferior. But here's where we gotta flip our thinking around. What feels like a bug is actually a feature. It's true. Those limitations, the things that drive you crazy, are actually deliberate controls. They're built-in safety measures put there specifically for the super complex world of a big company. So, friction as a feature. How does that actually work in practice? Well, let's follow a single request you might make and see exactly why these delays and roadblocks aren't just necessary, they're absolutely crucial. All right, so when you ask the enterprise AI to do something, it's not just a straight shot from you to the model and back. No way. It's a whole journey. First, your request gets logged. Then, it goes through a bunch of validation checks. After that, it's checked against company policies. Only then does it actually get executed. And to top it all off, the whole thing gets recorded as evidence. See? Every single one of these steps adds a little bit of that friction we're talking about, but it also creates a super important audit trail. You see, an enterprise AI can't just run wild. It's not in a bubble. It has to play within a really complex set of rules, these system boundaries. We're talking about things like data residency, laws that say where data can live, access controls that decide who gets to see what, super strict change management processes, and maybe the biggest, most critical boundary of them all, especially in regulated industries, is this thing called the separation of IT and OT. Yeah, that last one, the IT and OT separation, that's a really big deal. So big it needs its own spotlight. In a lot of industries, this isn't just a nice to have or a best practice. It is a non-negotiable safety rule. So let's unpack what that actually means. Okay, so IT, or information technology, that's the stuff that runs the business. Think emails, spreadsheets, CRM systems. But OT, operational technology, that runs the actual physical operations. We're talking manufacturing robots, chemical processors, medical devices. The line between them has to be a brick wall. You absolutely cannot have an AI that's, say, analyzing sales data, suddenly decide to tell a factory robot to change what it's doing. The risk of disaster is just way too high. And this is how that separation actually plays out. An AI might have a read-only path to an OT system. It can look at the data. It can monitor what's happening. But to act, to actually make a change, to touch that system, it has to go through a completely separate, heavily controlled gate. This is a huge source of that friction we feel, and it's there for a very, very good reason. Okay, so we get it, these controls exist. But how do you decide when to apply them, and how strictly? That's where this idea of an authority spectrum comes into play. It's a really useful framework for figuring out the link between how much power an AI has and how much friction you need to keep things safe. Now, if you take one thing away from this, let it be this right here. We spend so much time worrying about the risks of AI, but honestly, we're kind of focusing on the wrong thing. The real risk isn't the AI. The real risk is giving it unbounded authority, the power to act on its own without any checks and balances. And this model, called the life cycle lens, is a great way to see what that looks like. Over on the left, you've got low authority stuff. Think of an AI just giving you some conversational insights. Pretty low risk. But as you move to the right, the AI's authority starts to climb, and with it, so does its potential blast radius. How bad things could get if it messes up. By the time you get all the way to the right, to zero-touch execution, the stakes are just incredibly high. And that authority boundary in the middle, that's exactly where all that friction we've been talking about gets applied to manage that growing risk. So let's break down the two sides of that boundary. On one side, you have assistive AI. It's read-only. It's like a helpful assistant that can summarize a report for you. If it gets something wrong, the impact is pretty small, and it's easy to reverse. But on the other side, you have operational AI. This kind of AI has real authority. It takes action. It might be the thing that automatically adjusts the temperature in a bioreactor. You can see how that requires way more control, right? And you'd better have a plan to roll back whatever it does. So here's the key takeaway. That friction you feel, that clunkiness, it really kicks in the second an AI tries to cross that boundary from assisting to operating. The moment it tries to go from just telling you something to actually doing something, like triggering a workflow or updating a system of record, that's when the gates have to come down hard. So where does all this leave us? Well, it's really about changing our perspective. We need to move away from just being frustrated and start thinking about responsible design. So instead of asking, ugh, why is this AI so slow? The real question we should be asking is, does this AI have the right controls for the level of authority we've given it?
And this is just a perfect way to put it. Getting rid of the controls doesn't get rid of the risk. All it does is make the risk invisible. Think about that. A fast, frictionless AI at work isn't always a better AI. And an invisible risk, well, that's the most dangerous kind there is.
Which brings us to a really core principle. For anyone building this stuff, you have to design for the environment you actually operate in, not some idealized version you wish you had. It means you've got to embrace all that complexity and build systems that are, yeah, powerful, but also responsible and fully accountable. So I'll leave you with this. The next time you're using an AI at work, or even designing one, ask yourself this simple question. Is this tool built for assistance, or is it built for authority? Because the answer to that question tells you everything you need to know about why that friction is there and why you should probably be glad it is.